Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, good afternoon everyone, and in lecture 15 we are now going to cover India's smart city mission. So, we would learn different technicalities so far as the smart city missions or the smart city project is concerned. And if you take a look into the route map, I will be covering the smart city mission in India, discussing other overlapping and coinciding plans and schemes and missions to have a meaningful impact, quote unquote meaningful. We will later discuss how meaningful these ventures are being finally, but yes, at least in official terms, to kind of craft a meaningful impact on the Indian urban environmental scene. So, we would discuss strategic components within smart city mission, and also the process. We will not discuss a lot, but a bit on the process in terms of selection of cities. The role of ICT, this is also fundamentally important, the role of ICT, information communication technology in creating smart cities in India. And also finally, we would finish this lecture with little bit of a reflection on the what is known as lack of sustainability quotient in the smart city plan or the smart city mission. We will also talk about the implementation status, but the criticisms, the inadequacies we would be discussing in our next presentation, that is lecture 16, but here we would touch a bit on the inadequacy relating to the sustainability quotient in this smart city mission, and also finally end the lecture with some sort of reflection or information relating to the implementation status so far as this particular mission is concerned. So, yes, we discussed this in our last presentation when we were talking about this transition from JNNU-RM to the smart city mission in the Indian context. So, there was a political change or a change in the regime from UPA to the NDA government, and NDA, when NDA came to power in 2013, immediately in 2014 they announced and they proclaimed this fresh announcement of the creation of 100 smart cities for the Indian subcontinent, and this became a flagship project under the NDA, and immediately the 7.6 billion which was earmarked in the 2014 budget was dramatically enhanced and increased to INR 480 billion in the budget of 2015. And the idea was that this budget would be disbursed at frequent intervals to the urban local bodies between a period of 5 years, that is between 2015 and 2020. And who would be the major administrating agencies for this smart city mission? The Ministry of Urban Development, MOUD, Government of India, with the active involvement of state governments and union territories. But we would also see that how the private companies and the private investors also became big actors or players in this particular game. So, overlapping urban policies and schemes along with smart city to cater to some of the integrated needs, priorities and requirements of Indian cities. So, Hriday, we have Hriday, Amrut, National Mission for Urban Sustainable Habitat, Housing for All, National Urban Sanitation Policy. So, number of provisions that which are part of all these schemes and grand plans, they very much coincide with the larger agenda of the smart city mission. So, if we just focus on the Atal mission for rejuvenation and urban transformation, that is Amrut, just go to their official site and you will find all these details, that how and why Amrut's main focus is on this following thrust areas. So, just take a look on the thrust areas, you will see Amrut focuses on water supply. So, the main focus is to actually provide potable water and to lay out piped drinking networks and sewerage networks in the so called otherwise non-networks part of cities. So, and also a whole lot of focus is on the creation or establishment of green spaces and parks and non-motorized urban transport. So, we can see that how environmental sustainability or environment remains a very important component in urban planning and development, so far as these particular schemes like Amrut etc. are concerned. So, and there are several other details, just I would encourage you to just go through or navigate across the different tabs and sub tabs, by accessing the official website of Amrut. This is the government website, and you will see that how Rajasthan was the first state actually to submit the state action plan, and the kind of challenges that different states are facing in terms of Amrut, and also what are some of the positive stories of Amrut and the several provisions that make Amrut feasible. So, there are other plans like on the same day along with Amrut, Housing for All scheme was also launched by the government, and it had actually it has two parts, Pradhan Mantri Awas scheme for the urban people and also for the Gramin, that is the rural people, and the whole idea is to provide affordable housing to the urban poor, and the target was to kind of cater to 20 million affordable houses by 2020, and through the use of eco-friendly technologies, and converge with it also definitely Housing for All of course converge with other plans targeting coverage of urban utilities. For example, Amrut is a direct example which focuses on the establishment of pipe networks, water networks and sewerage facilities, and Housing for All, this is also integrated to this to the Amrut scheme. So, again Hriday is another important scheme which mainly concentrates on the heritage component of the urban. So, it is all about urban planning, economic growth and heritage conservation in an inclusive manner, development of core heritage infrastructure projects like monuments, ghats, temples etc. And we all know now that how this a lot of discussions are going on regarding heritage and heritage conservation and preservation. So, for example, the townships or the cities which had to finally come up as heritage cities, they also needed implementation, robust implementation of and development of sanitation facilities, public transportation and parking, citizen services, information kiosks etc. All these so called modern advanced options had to be integrated in the urban to make these or to declare these cities as heritage cities. So, 13 cities were kind of selected under the Hriday scheme, including cities like Ajmer, Amravati and Gaya, Puri, Kanchipuram, Warangal, Dwarka etc. So, then there is also this national urban sanitation policy, another overlapping scheme or plan, and here you can see all these different other details about how the implementation mechanism was kind of devised and crafted. So, the whole idea in this national urban sanitation policy is to transform urban India into a community driven, totally sanitized, healthy and livable cities and towns. So, to come up with totally sanitized, healthy and livable cities and towns in the country, and by kind of fostering API, and API means awareness, participation, involvement and engagement of the multiple actors and stakeholders. And for this ODF, the cities had to be ODF, that is open defecation free cities, and network based sewerage systems has been encouraged in this particular policy. And also there is a whole lot of emphasis on recycle and reuse of treated wastewater for non potable applications. Yes, this is also very important, but it is little older. So, it dates back to 2010, this national mission on sustainable habitat, and this is part of the NAPCC, which is National Action Plan for climate change, and you can see the whole the entire thrust or the emphasis is on the environmental components like energy conservation building code. So, how to think about a model shift to public transport, and also because in order to regulate and reduce carbon emission, and to recycle material and come up with proper urban waste management mechanisms and strategies, and develop technology for even for this our national mission on sustainable habitat calls forth for provision or for technologies where there can be provision to produce power from waste. So, it is a major R&D, research and development program, and there are several important components in it, including biochemical conversion, sewage utilization and recycling options, and also waste water use. Now, so this smart city mission, the smart city program, again if you go to the official site, the site is here, you can just access this site and you will find out that how the smart city, at least officially it claimed that it is interested to develop the entire urban ecosystem. So, this is something which is said in this particular in the website. This announcement has been made that if urban development has to be targeted, then urban has to be understood as an entire urban ecosystem consisting of physical, social, economic and institutional components. So, all these issues need to be targeted concurrently in order to cater to the integrated needs of the complex urban ecosystem. So, if you see this quote, so the official site says that to provide for the aspirations and needs of the citizens, urban planners ideally aim at developing the entire urban ecosystem. So, these can be a long term goal, and cities can work towards developing such comprehensive infrastructure incrementally by adding layers or adding on layers of smartness. So, how to add layers of smartness? By again parallelly focusing on all these different pillars and the sub pillars within each pillar. So, the pillars of the physical pillar, and so what are the things which need to be targeted at? Power, water supply, solid waste management, multimodal modal transport, housing, disaster, everything, social, education, health, entertainment, inclusive planning, building homes, etc. Economic, GDP, job creation, livelihood activities, market growth, and institutional speedy service delivery, environmental sustainability, public participation, and ICT, that is information communication technology based service delivery, in order to manage things in the smartest way. So, there are three major strategic components in the area development or area based development, that is the most important or significant part of the smart cities mission. So, the three strategic components are city renewal or redevelopment, city improvement or retrofitting, and city extension or greenfield development. So, for example, in city renewal or redevelopment, only a particular part of a particular area is actually targeted in consultation with the urban local bodies and the municipality and several other stakeholders. And for example, around 50 acre approx area is targeted that particular layout, and the plan is to kind of come up with enhanced infrastructural facilities. So, examples can include the Kidwai plan in New Delhi or the Bhindi market in Mumbai. These are can be considered as part of this city renewal redevelopment plan within the smart city mission. Similarly, so far as city improvement is concerned, the whole idea is to kind of develop a particular area again within a particular city, and this area has to be earmarked or identified across consultation among various stakeholders, of course, including members from or representatives from urban local bodies and several other local representatives. And for example, 500 acres areas are targeted, which would then again see enhanced infrastructures and application of smart solutions. So, for example, smart mobility through which, like through ICT, then intelligent traffic management can be tracked and can be implemented, and there can be smart metering for drinking water, and again several other forms of technologies to kind of convert waste into power. So, these are part of this retrofitting plan, and then the major important or the new plan is to kind of come up with a city extension, that is greenfield development. So, which means that vacant lands will be chosen or targeted, and new development will be implemented in this vacant land, and definitely the whole idea has to be eco-friendly. So, there would be the construction of eco-friendly buildings, eco-friendly malls, and eco-friendly office spaces, etc. And there is also a kind of a pan city initiative, which means everything has to be done in a very smart way through the application of smart solutions, as I mentioned, in terms of mobility, in terms of water management, in terms of solid waste management, etc. So, these are the major strategic components within the smart city mission, awaiting or encountering smart solutions. So, competitive and cooperative federalism, I think this is the ever first mission or the ever first grand plan which has been floated in this particular country, which encourages this competitive model. So, cities can only be selected through this selection criteria. So, we will discuss this in detail when we in our next presentation, that is in lecture 16, where we will talk about where we will be critically interrogating some of the major components within this SCM. So, challenge or competition method to select cities for funding, and we will also discuss that whether how this particular model or method of selection through competition, selection of cities for funding actually is crafting or paving the way towards what is known as inequitable urbanization. So, anyway, another major important point for SCM or for construction of smart cities is that this particular vehicle, that is the special purpose vehicle, has been this idea has been floated, which means the Companies Act was passed in 2013. So, it means that this special purpose vehicle, it is a coterie of some companies who are mainly responsible for executing different plans within the smart city program. So, these different companies will be actually chosen by the state in consultation with the center, and the municipalities would definitely be involved in the process, but then these companies would play the final role in taking decisions, and in making crucial kind of how do I say, like for different crucial steps, like procuring lease and arranging joint ventures, purchase, etc. So, the municipalities also do not have so much of right, as the rights are now being enjoyed by special purpose vehicles. So, this is one of the unique characteristics of the smart city plan. Information and communication technology, and all of us know that how the entire project is actually dependent upon, and it relies on ICT and IoT, which is Internet of Things, and the whole idea is to exhibit a high performing urban system. So, unlike municipal bodies, if you look into this quote, so Sandhir, I have quoted him from the Hindustan Times, and the reference is there in our list of references. So, here he says that unlike municipal bodies, where professional cadres have been generally lacking on account of a perpetual mismatch between fund, function and functionary. So, he makes a difference, he makes a distinction between the between the municipal bodies and between the SPVs, which are the special characteristics for the smart city plan. So, the distinction between municipal bodies and SPVs is that municipal bodies, the professional cadres, they have been generally lacking on account of a perpetual mismatch between funds, function and functionary. The SPVs are much more business oriented and have staffing that is commensurate with their functions. So, the whole idea is again to kind of draw investments, attract investments from private investors, and SPVs play a crucial role in terms of attracting these investments from the private companies. ICT is the lifeline of smart city plan, and the whole idea is to kind of create a seamless integration across these different services, the delivery of different services including e-governance and citizen service, waste management, water management, energy management, urban mobility, etc. So, there is again this TEC report which is again there in the list of references. Please go through this TEC report if you want to focus on the delivery of services across these various segments through ICT, that is information communication technology. So, ICT here is considered or regarded as enabler of smartness. So, again I am quoting from TEC report, which says that ICT is the true enabler of the smartness in every aspect of the smart city paradigm, helping cities become interoperable and coherent, more sustainable and efficient, improve governance structures, and bring in more autonomy in systems and services. We will see in our next lecture that how far these official projections have actually been able to be transcended into actual realities. Yeah, so the whole idea is to improve the quality of life of its citizens, but which citizens, that is the fundamental question. Yeah, services and applications. So, MOUD, Ministry of Urban Development, has actually classified infrastructure segments into smart mobility, ITS, vehicle telematics, insurance, fleet management, connected cars, etc., smart healthcare, smart living, that is through home automation, smart utilities. I told you about smart metering services for water and sanitation facilities, smart governance, the software and solutions that can be used by various departments for smart governance, and smart manufacturing through predictive maintenance. So, these are the various infrastructure segments classified by the Ministry of Urban Development. Yes. So, this is something crucial. So, that though in these various programs like AMRUT or the other programs that we discussed, National Urban Sanitation Policy. So, in all these programs, environment seem to be incorporated and integrated within urban planning and development. But then now some interesting works or researches are being pursued, where these urban experts are actually trying to quantify or measure the impact or measure the environmental or sustainability quotient in these programs, in the various provisions that are actually laid out in these particular initiatives called the Smart City Initiative. So, for example, I have come across a very interesting article which I have mentioned in the list of references. This is by Randhawa and Kumar. And so, Randhawa and Kumar, what they have done is that they have kind of compared the sustainability indicators that are there for the so far as UNDESA is concerned, that is the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and the sustainability indicators that are part and parcel of the smart city mission. So, they if you go through this article, you will see the Randhawa and Kumar talk about the use of that. Yes, in smart city mission there is whole lot of provisions for the use of ICT for environmental management, but then it is again only constricted and limited to water management. So, there is research in big data initiatives and its use in environment, but they are still in their nascent stage so far as our country is concerned. and then there are no mention of key terms, there is no mention of key terms such as green space, biodiversity, climate change in the SCM statements and guidelines, right. So, we do not come across these terminologies a lot, and again as I was telling that Randhawa and Kumar, they have kind of compared the use of sustainable indicators for UN DESA and Indian Smart City Mission, and they say and show that while in the UN DESA, that is United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, at least 50 indicators have been mentioned so far as sustainable development criteria is concerned, including natural hazards, atmosphere, water, oceans, seas and coasts, biodiversity and land. In Smart City Mission, only like few indicators are mentioned, and again constricted to energy, atmosphere and water. So, we will discuss this again in detail in our next presentation, when we would be critically interrogating the Smart City Initiative plan and action. So, what is the implementation status? 2.5 years after the announcement of SCM. So, I am again I dependent on the SCSCI report which came out 1 or 2 years back, and so they say that 2.5 years after the announcement of SCM, 6.5% of the total identified projects have been completed, with utilization of just 1.6% of the total envisaged investment of rupees 138,730 crore, which is only 17.36 billion euro. So, the implementation status is not that satisfactory, and also if you take a detailed look and in depth, if you make an in depth evaluation of what is actually going on in these implemented spaces, you also see you will be able to identify and mark different discriminations, inadequacies and discrepancies in terms of the implications of the various components of the project. So, many projects are stuck as local governing bodies are unable to raise money using their own resources. So, this is also what is happening. The same thing happened in JNNURM as well. So, for example, there is a book, I edited a book called Sustainable Urbanization in India. There is a chapter by Seema Fatima, who shows she consulted archives, she consulted daily newspapers in both Hindi and English, and she also deployed other qualitative research methodologies like focus group discussions, key informant interviews, etc. And she showed that how effective functioning of services actually to a great extent gets hindered, or it actually local politics, how local politics and political maneuvers through cadre politics actually hindered proper functioning of democratic decentralization. So, she did that study so far as the Patna city was concerned. So, same thing we find especially for several small towns and cities as well. So, many projects are stuck. So, first of all, the implementation status is already very poor. So, only 1.6% of the total envisaged investment has been used, and even within that many projects are stuck as local governing bodies are unable to raise money using their own resource. So, we also discussed this in our last presentation, where we talked about how the urban local bodies, they all the urban local bodies in different areas, all areas are not actually properly equipped to kind of generate funds for completing the different projects. So, many cities are also facing resistance in execution of projects, as citizens have opposed user charges for services provided under the mission. So, it is highly costly actually. It is not cost effective, but it is very, very costly, and sometimes affordability is actually a major issue. So, in several places it is seen that the citizens are resisting, they are opposing to pay extra charges for all these urban services. So, that is why different projects also have come to a halt. So, yes, please go through some of these references, and yeah, so what we have dealt with in this lecture is that we have talked about, or we have discussed the Smart City Mission as a flagship project under NDA to create 100 smart cities between 2015 and 2020. we have talked about how the mission actually converges with several other urban environmental national schemes like Amrut, Hriday, Housing for All, National Urban Sanitation Policy, etc. We have talked about the strategic components under the smart city mission and the pillars and sub pillars. Pillars, you remember, right? The pillars: physical, social, economic, institutional pillars, and the sub pillars within each of these pillars on which smart city rests. We have discussed all these pillars and sub pillars here, and we have shed light on the role of information communication technology as the enabler, quote unquote, enabler of smartness. And along with discussing the implementation status, in this lecture we have also touched upon inadequate focus on environmental components inherent in this smart city plan. If we compare it to sustainable development, compared to sustainable development indicators for that matter, so far as UN DESA indicators are concerned, that is United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. So, and this is something which again we will be taking up in our next lecture. So, thank you all.